is the Ridiculously Amazing Insurance Agent Podcast, hosted by me, Kelly Donahue Piro. This show is for growing insurance agencies looking to maximize their biggest investment, their people. Listen to the top agency performance partners clients share their story on how they boosted their performance by executing a plan. Let's head to the show. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another Ridiculously Amazing Agent podcast. And I'm really excited about this one. I've been seeing some themes as we interview some of our clients. We have a lot of husband and wife teams, lo and behold. So we had Gina and Joe Clevenger. We had Kimball, Vanessa and her husband work together. And so now we've got another one, the Julie and Jason Levine team. And guys, these guys are such an impressive agency down out, in the Orlando area. First of all, Florida is so different. Which is why we titled the podcast, why is Florida insurance so different? If you think running an agency in your neck of the woods is hard, listen to what they get to deal with down in Florida. It's like a tenfold situation. And this husband and wife team is so great because they're very active in the local colleges and believe in recruiting new, fresh talent, which is always a strong point that we're always trying to fix in insurance. And they've had another one of our podcast guests shared, which is taking an operations person from outside of insurance and putting them into the agency, which works out, great for Gerber Insurance. And now you'll hear a little bit more about Harry Levine. But I just love this group. I got to, you'll hear a little bit more about how they were my last agency before things really shut down at COVID. And let's be honest, it was, we were really shutting down when we finished with them. It was, I think, St. Patrick's Day we actually spent together. And how they navigated COVID and some of the things that they had done to get that going and still stuck with the assessment and training their team, even when the world seemed like it was falling apart. So I couldn't be more happy to bring this podcast to you. We'll catch you at the end with a few of my thoughts. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Ridiculously Amazing Agent podcast. And I'm so excited to be joined here by another husband and wife duo. We have Jason and Julie Levine from the Harry Levine Agency right in Orlando. So super excited to say hello, welcome you guys to the podcast. You guys want to take a moment, introduce yourselves?
Sure. Ladies first.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm Julie Levine. Like Kelly said, I got into the business because I married into it. Just like most people, there's some sort of family connection. I've been in the agency now for about 14 years.
Oh my gosh, time goes by fast, huh?
Time flies when you're having fun.
Good answer.
And let's see, my daily role sort of involves agency management, workflows, making sure things are being entered in the system, auditing, bit of tech, IT, HR. You know how that goes when you're running a business, a little bit of everything.
And you're like an epic guru too.
Oh, no, only been on it for a few months, only a few months, but maybe ahead of the curve for most people, but
a TAM guru for sure.
Yes, TAM, I'll take TAM guru.
But you made the leap, so you saw value in moving to Epic somewhere along the way.
It has been an amazing leap. The automation is saving me tons of time. We are very happy with our move.
Good. And then there's this other guy here that's with you.
Yeah, him.
I just kind of stand here and look good.
Look pretty.
That's what I do.
Well, no, I understand that you met Julie in college, just a little north of us in Rhode Island.
That is correct. Once upon a time, I had an abode in New England, just to your north, Kelly. Julie and I met there doing college radio, and I came home in 2006 and joined the agency. Now I'm a second generation here. Julie and I own and operate the agency, and you can tell who the real boss is. But after about 2 years working in the agency, honest truth, I was just out of school feeling a little intellectually unchallenged. So I actually went back to school full-time while working full-time and got a master's degree in risk management and insurance from Florida State University. And I'm also a CPCU because I got bored again a few years ago. And that's what I do is kind of get into the nuts and bolts of product. I've taught college level coursework at Seminole State College here in Florida, just north of Orlando. And kind of deal with HR, VIP clientele, large commercial, things like that. So I guess you could say I do a lot more client-facing responsibilities and HR work, and Julie kind of makes sure the engine keeps on humming smoothly.
And you are the proud parents of an adorable little Alex,
Yes.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
who
So, as
is,
a matter of fact, Kelly, you had the pleasure, the first day of quote unquote quarantine in March of 2020, of spending the last day of our engagement at our dining room table in our house with little Alex running around all over the place.
yes, we were quite in the idea of what was going to happen at that point in time. That was, you were my officially last pre-COVID shutdown trip. So that was also very interesting. But everybody weathered it out, and obviously being down in Florida, things are reopened and, moving quite along. So,
Did we ever close down here? I don't even remember.
I think it depends on who you talk to.
I will have you know that the restaurant we ate at on March 17th is the exact same restaurant I ate at sometime in mid-May when we got indoor dining back.
Listen, well, I think that you guys see, you have it a lot easier down in the warm weather states with the outdoor situation too. Like, being that you guys, moved up to Massachusetts for a few years for college, we almost shut down in New England in the winter period.
Yep.
Not far off from COVID time sometimes. So you guys have this agency, obviously running it together. And once you start by telling us about, like, everyone hears about Florida and the Florida insurance market. And I equate a lot of what you guys have to like the Houston area, that panhandle of Texas as well. The Louisiana got hit by a hurricane every 2 weeks last year, which in addition to COVID was really awesome. So tell us what's going on in Florida right now, because you guys have some crazy, crazy times.
So in a nutshell, Kelly, I think your comparison is fair geographically, but in terms of marketplace and government affairs, let's call it legislation, there's really no comparison. Florida is in a tailspin. We are an absolutely wild marketplace. In Texas, they did something really crazy, and they passed meaningful tort reform and dealt with a lot of their problems. And in Louisiana, their state-run insurer of last resort is designed in a way that keeps it an insurer of last resort and incentivizes a healthy voluntary marketplace. We have not done either of those things in this state. So what we have is a marketplace that's completely battered by fraud, a legislature that right now there are several bills passing through the houses that are the chambers, I should say, that may bring some relief. But our problem, and I'm never afraid to directly say it, is the Florida Senate. The House of Representatives will pass meaningful reform year in and year out. Florida Association of Insurance Agents has been authoring and getting bills sponsored for 5 or 6 years. They die in the Senate, which is controlled by the trial bar. And 3 of the most powerful lobbying outfits in Tallahassee, our state capital, are FAIA, tremendous budget and tremendous pull. And we actually have a number of agents. It used to be a few more, but there are several agents in the legislature that really, really help. The real estate agents' lobbying efforts, and of course the trial bar. And it's a problem. So we're faced with a situation where a year ago, we might have been able to look at a risk with 10, 12, 15 different markets. Now there might be 1 or 2. If a roof is over as little as 10 or 12 years, we might be talking excess and surplus lines. So the personal lines market is in a terrible, terrible shape when it comes to property. The auto market is fairly stable. Other than that, of course, premiums are going up, 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 up. I think despite COVID and everyone thinking, oh, people are going to be off the roads, when you're dealing with 3 to 5 years worth of loss data to appropriately derive rates, there's still the other 3 to 5 years out of the last 3 to 5 years. And the commercial marketplace is also fairly stable. I've seen property on the commercial side be a heck of a lot worse than it is now. So our crisis mode is personal lines property.
So obviously there's all this, compacting, tension. Whenever this happens in an agency, there's a lot of things you got to compete with. You got to compete with COVID regulations. You got to compete with government regulations. And I understand a lot of carriers are taking upwards of 20% rate increases.
Upwards of like 40%.
Try 40 to 60.
Yeah, I was being conservative. So you have all this going on. So this is a lot for your staff, right? Like, in Florida, you guys have always had a little different market than say, like in Idaho or like in Iowa, which tends to be just kind of, mundane doing its thing. Although I'm sure those agents would disagree. But how do you organize an agency that's facing rate increases of 40% that has this variability? Obviously, I'm sure clients aren't excited to get a 40% rate increase in the mail. Like, how do you keep them sane? What's your plan? What's your process? Like, because I think a lot of Florida agents are like drinking from a fire hose. And then I know last year we dealt with carriers go out of business.
Yep.
Nothing
I feel
new.
like Florida's like the Wild West. Like no one knows what's around the next corner.
Oh, that's 100% true. And I'm going to, I think, answer this from maybe a different perspective, and then I'll let Jason handle it. But the team is overwhelmed. They're stressed. The clients that are calling are mad. They're angry. They're rude. There's so much going on right now that obviously has nothing to do with us, but they're taking all of those external factors plus their rate increase and yelling. So we are reminding our team that it is not acceptable to be talked, to in a certain way, that we can, tell clients that we look forward to speaking to them when they can sort of calm down, because we have to think about our team's mental health. And then we were trying to do fun things. We did a little luncheon for St. Patrick's Day. We rented a pavilion at a park outside. So we're trying to keep it light to help with their mental health, and just understanding that the days are stressful. So whatever we can do to help or provide flexibility with certain things to help them, so that they're not hating coming to work every day.
Well,
So
I
that's
love
sort of on a different side, but
No, I think Julie hit the nail on the head. It's trying to, remind everybody that we want to create an environment that, yes, is a workplace, but is as enjoyable as possible. What the biggest challenge, it's precipitated by the rate increases on the property side and the insolvencies and some of the other things that we face here. But for whatever reason, and I'm going to use a rated G word, but we've actually had to really focus on communication and reminding everybody that the world is a crazy place right now. And here's the rated G word. 4 out of 5 people we talk to are complete donkeys. It's just one of those things where, we become the whipping post or the whipping boy when they call. And I say to people, hey, when's the last time you called a service provider? And how did you conduct yourself? And what were the responses you got back? And that's not about, were you frustrated and they were sweet as sugar to you? That's about everybody's a donkey right now. I think that's a product of the world, of the COVID era. And if we can just be mindful of it and realize that everybody's maybe a little bit on edge, I think that gives people perspective, and they become a little bit more tolerant of some irate customers, and they also put themselves in check a little bit, depending upon what frustrations they may be feeling in their capacity on the team. Communication is everything. It's one of those universal truths that it's not just an insurance agency thing. It's just how much can we talk about these things and talk about the marketplace and talk about how, these are the things we're facing, but this isn't, something unique to our agency. As a matter of fact, I was talking to a colleague of mine who's over in the Tampa Bay area, who I think Kelly, and I was joking with her, and I said, every time I talk to you, her name's Karen. Every time I talk to you, it's like group therapy, because we talk about what's going on in our agencies, and we're both in similar situations as second generation operators, and we both come from nationwide insurance captive agency backgrounds, but now have growing independence. So every time we talk, it's like, oh, my challenges aren't unique. So that might be something that I would tell agents to do is join a mastermind group, or reach out to some peers, use a Facebook group like IAOA or something like that. And you find pretty quickly that, it's not what you think is unique.
You're not alone.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
And it's nice, the staff needs to hear that too. They're not the only ones facing this. We like to talk a lot about how you didn't cause the rate. You're the coordinator of everything, of how to find solutions to problems, but you can't take it personally. And the hard part is a lot of service people are kind of that people pleaser, kind of like sponges. And so it does really get to them. And, they just want to make people happy. And the challenge is anybody ever really happy with their insurance?
Mm-hmm.
they can be happy with their insurance agent, but no one's ever like, let me go stroke this check. Best check I write this year. Absolutely. Send it on.
Actually, Julie had a homeowner's client a few weeks ago who chose a $7,000 HO3 over a $2,000 HO3.
Woo!
Yeah, it was an inch. There are some particulars there, but no, it wasn't like an HO5 versus an HO1. It was AM Best A-rated company number 1 versus AM Best A-rated company number 2, both on HO3s. One of them being a Florida domestic, the expensive one, and one of them being a national brand that everyone would recognize. I might have chicken parm for dinner tonight, by the way. But she just wanted what she wanted because she had brand loyalty and had been through a claims situation, and electively chose to stroke a check $5,000 larger because she had been so impressed on claim service a few years ago.
I wasn't going to say no.
Yeah, the point there is you just never know.
Right. Well, I think one thing I love about you guys is you do get very involved with the staff. Like there have been many times where like you'll hop on the phone, you'll take a difficult phone call.
It's also why I drink.
Well, you're in insurance, that's why you drink. I think that comes with it's difficult to be sober in this industry, I think, personally, but you guys do, even not the difficult ones, not like, oh, let me just take the difficult ones. You'll just hop on and say, give me a lot of, give me whoever needs to be called back, and kind of dive in so that your team sees that it's okay to push back on clients. It's okay to have some difficult conversations, that your expectation isn't everything sunshine and rainbows, but your expectation is that they're professionals at the end of the day. Is that pretty accurate?
That's dead on. And I know exactly one of the things you're talking about because, of course, we've worked together. But I used to blog about this when I was the chairman of the Young Agents Council for the Florida Association of Insurance Agents. There was a blog that I wrote about how do you take someone who's young, a 20-something-year-old producer that has a support team, or a 20-something-year-old agency principal, and maintain a work environment where they're respected and listened to. And the bottom line is, it has nothing to do with anything other than being able to do every job in the agency at least as well as everybody who's there, if not better. And that's the thing, is you can't ever lose sight of that. And while today, for instance, I was working with a new producer we just brought on straight out of the risk management program at FSU, go Knowles. And in Epic, I really haven't done that many sets of applications yet because my day consists mostly of administrative tasks at this point. But after about 3 minutes of bumbling a little bit, boom, got in, did them. I did all the data entry I wanted her to watch, and the next one we do, I told her, you're driving from now on, but you get this one. And I think that's just, you have to inspect what you expect, and you have to get down and dirty and be a part of the team, not just some figure off to the side.
I think we all hear about those agencies that have that absent owner who's out golfing, and I think there's a lack of respect, especially that they'll come in and be like, what's going on? What do I do here? I don't know how to open this. How do I attach something to an email? And it's just like, oh, are you kidding?
See, I don't play golf. I make really big divots, smoke cigars, and drink beer.
I think you and I could probably the same minus I smoking cigars, but I like the walk. I'd go on the walk. It's pretty. It's
I'll walk with you.
Oh, you could be my caddy.
I'll smack him for you.
If we have any subscription hours with you left over at the end of the year, come down and we'll go play around the golf.
There you go. We'll drink. It's a way to a day drink and be outside. Like that's kind of my theory on it.
The problem is, I think our contract renews in August, so
it's hot.
It's a little warm down here. A little warm.
So a couple of things that you guys brought up that I love that you do that I'm hoping that you don't mind sharing is you talked about the interns and you talked about people coming in. And I think that there's a lot of agencies that maybe don't know how to handle a college person coming in. I'd love to hear your experience, how you approach it, because you guys have been very successful with different producers and help. So could you tell us how that works for you?
I'm going to default to Julie here because she generally runs the internship program. Our operations manager, Robert, and I go to Tallahassee and have some fancy dinners and interview them and bring them back.
And then I do the hard work.
And she trains them.
Well, our very first intern is still working for us. He is one of our producers.
He interned in 2016.
Yep.
And he's a good producer too. Like, he's very
Yes.
driven, very focused. He goes out and prospects and networks. You don't really have to like really kind of give him a big motivation dose, right?
True. And we also have some help, and this goes to recruiting. His parents own a niche professional liability only agency. So if he goes home and says, boo hoo, I had a tough day, his parents look at him and say, make more cold calls, boy. And, instead of sympathy, I think he gets a shot in the arm because they know what it takes. And that also means he grew up in the industry. So not only is he incredibly well prepared from the Florida State program, but he kind of had some inside perspective for most of his life that he knows what it takes to succeed. And it's finding people like that, whether or not they have those family connections, that you can tell that they know that they're not going to climb the totem pole in the first 3 months, and then set them up for success is what we try to do. But we were talking about interns, not producers.
Well, the internship program I really love. We either bring somebody from Florida State through their risk management undergraduate program, or from the University of Central Florida from their sales or business programs. Either way, we've had great experience. They've been high quality, eager to learn, great with technology. So they're usually like the first one to learn anything that I show them. They're great with the management system. And then you sort of, at first you're like, okay, let me slowly show them this, show them how to do that. And then they're coming to you like, oh, I got this, let's do this, let's do that. They have their own energy that they bring that makes it really easy to work with them. And then we've had them do everything from working with some downloads that come into the management system, to doing marketing pieces, helping answer just the phones and, directing. Help, I mean, literally anything. The team just gets super excited to have an extra set of hands, and they usually also want to help teach this person. So the students from FSU that are in the risk management program, I really try to focus on some of the nuts and bolts of agency operations, what it looks like every position in the agency, and really give them that background look, so that they understand insurance on a deeper level, because what they learn in school is not really how it works. And then the kids from UCF, I still want to give them that idea of like, how does a business run? What does it take to run a business? And maybe not get into so much of like the nitty gritty behind the scenes of insurance, but still give them that understanding of just basic insurance, so that when they leave, they're at least more educated about insurance, and what it takes to run a business. So I let them sit in with our marketing rep meetings, any meetings that we're having, taking them out to lunch with us, just so they sort of have all access. And I think what also entices some of these students to come to us instead of maybe one of these large agencies is the fact that they have access to Jason and I. They can just walk in, ask us questions. The people that are running the business are the people teaching them, and that's an amazing opportunity for these students. I encourage anyone to get an intern.
And again, you've got to find the right people and ask the right questions. We had a young man we almost hired out of Florida State. I want to say it was, it has to have been 2019, because we did not go up there in 2020, of course, because it's a springtime thing, March, April, where they do a big career fair. But he actually went the opposite route. So again, it's just finding the right people. He went on with a big agency that actually is affiliated with an automotive group that has about a dozen different automobile dealerships around the state. And they told him, we're going to put you in an office. We're going to give you this many leads a day. You're going to close this many, and you're going to make this much money. And, that fit his druthers. And we had gone down the path already of talking about an employment offer and doing some pre-testing and things like that. So it's just finding the right people. But we've been told more than once by students that we have brought in and that we have hired, that's exactly, as Julie said, what attracted them was not to be lost in a corporate behemoth.
Yeah, they're not getting us coffee. They're actually doing legit work.
I actually put that in our written internship ads with Florida State. This is not a gopher job where we don't want you to be making coffee and checking the mail and then wondering what else you have to do today. I have more than once had students tell me that the reason that we were chatting was because they read that and were like, I want to talk to these people.
That's awesome. Another thing you guys do, which we had another guest on our podcast, an agency in Ohio, actually a nationwide agency that did just flip independent. You guys in Florida went a while back, but she did something similar. She hired an operations person that was friendly with her and her family. They'd known forever, from the outside to come in to help with some of the infrastructure and train on insurance. And you guys kind of have had that same thing. And I think for so many agencies, it's like, I need to have an operations person that's got 30 years experience and, does all that. And I always struggle because I'm like, they're going to bring all of the way that they know, but having fresh set of eyes, I think has been valuable. And I'm just curious to hear, how that came about and what your experience been having an outsider. I mean, he's been there long enough. He's licensed now, but and not the traditional route of finding the
Yep.
operations person, right?
Yeah, well, the true
That's
story, and it worked, right? And the odds were probably against it. But a very, very dear friend of mine who had been in active duty in the United States Army, he's an intelligence officer. When he came out into the reserves, he was a captain. He's now a major. But he called me up, and it was summer 2018. So Julie and I had a 4 or 5 month old, and he was
You guys are
having
going crazy, not sleeping.
pretty much. And Julie was
I wasn't
home.
working.
Julie wasn't working, and I was, and trying to hold it all together in that scenario. Anyone who's lived through it, it's not the easiest. So this guy calls me, who's got an MBA from Arizona State University. He's a military officer. I know him. I trust him, even though, because it's someone I've known for 20 plus years, the odds are against it. Yada yada yada. He was having not the time he thought he was going to have, transitioning into the civilian work world. So we offered him a position, and before he even showed up, he was licensed. At Florida, we have a CSR license that's pretty easy to obtain, but nonetheless, it gets you cooking. And over the last almost 4 years now, we've been able to do incredible things because of his skill set, and as well, especially during COVID. With
gosh.
technology, we kind of joke that he's robbed from IT, but he did signals intelligence in the Army, which means spooky stuff with laptops and cell phones, and it was a godsend, because to have someone who could lead our transition to some new technology systems and remote work models and things like that, he was the perfect fit for it, and he's also a great data analyst. So using Epic and previously some third-party software programs that we used with TAM, because TAM isn't as robust as Epic.
And our phone system.
Right, phone system. We transitioned from traditional POTS lines to a robust VoIP system. To have him there to assist with that, amongst some other daily ops stuff, has really, really been tremendous.
I'll also add that if we had tried to do everything with the transition to remote work with a 3-year-old at the house, or I guess at the time 2-year-old, with no daycare, I'm not sure our team would have been very happy with us.
We were also very lucky, because we have some team members who have children that are school age or younger, and we were just lucky in the state of Florida that basically by June 1st, childcare wasn't an issue. Everything was open. And we actually came back into the offices on June 1st. We only shut down I will remember this for the rest of my life, from March 18th, 2020 until May 31st, 2020. So we were fortunate there.
Yeah, and I think too, like what I love about that role is I see so many agency owners overwhelmed, working, 12, 15-hour days, weekends, and they can never get to that stuff because those projects they take time and there's a lot of steps. And if it's not in your skill set, and I think so many agency owners don't invest in like moving to Epic because it's such an overwhelming process, or they don't get the new phone system, or they don't set things up. And I just see that role becoming more and more of a necessity in agencies. And I just love it when people think creatively, like you don't need to get the veteran of insurance that, knows everything.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think it hurts us if we have too much.
Well, they bring their baggage with them, right? We've over the years had some hires as CSRs or agents, that they come in and they're experienced, which is generally speaking you perceive as a good thing. And over the first month that they're here, they spend more time telling you how everything you're doing is incorrect and here's how you should actually be doing it, than doing anything else. And those people usually wind up not hitting their 90-day mark. So there's something to be said. And there are also a lot of challenges with taking someone, with a blank slate, no industry experience, and molding them, because obviously they need a lot more attention, a lot more guidance, mentorship, et cetera, et cetera. But I definitely would not shy away, and we've proven it to ourselves over the last year and a half, from hiring good people, people that have the intellectual and work ethic qualifications to do the job. You don't always have to hire someone with industry experience who might actually not be the right person for your team.
Absolutely.
What we did with Robert is, with the migration to Epic, is I sort of assigned everybody certain tasks that they were going to lead, because I sort of knew everything with TAM, and I was like, there's no way that I can master all of Epic in this, and the transition and the data cleanup and the training of the team. So Jason was like, you've got accounting. He does all the accounting. That is his department. He set it up. I didn't have to touch it. Robert, I gave him reports, which has been a big thing. So reports, that is what Robert does, and then I do everything else. But at least, that made it through.
That makes us sound like your minions.
I didn't say that.
That's the ultimate goal,
That's what he said. But having multiple people that can take point on large parts of a transition made it possible. Because if I had to handle the reporting and the accounting and everything else, no way it would have happened. So having an operations person, amazing.
And then all the questions don't just come into you, so you're bogged down with question after question after question.
Exactly.
You can go to different people. So I'm curious, obviously, I think, Jason, you're definitely, I call it the insurance nerd. You've got all the letters and the things. And so where do you see this crazy industry going? Because obviously you guys you got to put Alex in college. You're here for a while, right?
Yep.
What's your projections? What's your, if you had the crystal ball, what do you think?
Well, I don't think it has anywhere to go but up in the state of Florida.
Because we're at the bottom.
Well, we're close to rock bottom. If we're not there, we're really close. We're now to the point where we're several insolvencies deep. Rates are up on average 40 to 60 on personal property.
Carriers are cutting commissions.
That's where I was going. And now we're getting the notices from carriers that they're cutting commissions. So that there's nowhere to go but up. I'm not concerned about Tesla or, listen, Allstate was playing inside Sears Roebuck and Company 30, 40 years ago, right? So if Overstock.com or Walmart want to try and fail, if Elon Musk, listen, he's going to go to Mars, and he built some amazing rockets. But his insurance endeavors are going to be one of those rockets that just keeps going kaboom, is my prediction. We're such a specialized sector, and it's a compliment that all these outside forces want to try to get in, because it's an incredibly profitable, incredibly wonderful business to be in that most people just don't even know about. But where's it going? That's a great question, Kelly. I think there's still some things that we need to see about autonomous vehicles. But my perspective there, because I have this conversation with my father, is it's just like airplanes, right? You can put an airplane on autopilot, but at the end of the day, the buck stops with the pilot in command. So you can put your Tesla on autopilot, but at the end of the day, the buck stops with the driver, and or the registered owner. I don't think that much is going to change, except maybe we actually won't have all these voluminous accidents that are low cost but high frequency, because maybe people can actually send a text without love tapping the person in front of them. Wouldn't that be novel? But I think the industry will grow. I think it needs to be nimble. I think one thing that it's going to be forced to do is not react so slowly. For instance, Turo. There's still no products in this state. I know that carriers such as Liberty Mutual have piloted some products in a couple of states. But if you're renting a car out through Turo, there's no way to insure it that is proper. You have to lie on an application, to my knowledge, still in the state of Florida. There's just no product for it. And just like Uber and things like that, where eventually the TNC endorsements came out, they'll eventually have something. But this nonsense where it takes years, I see that having to change.
Or it's so expensive, no one's going to do it. They'll just lie.
Right, but then you get claim denials and agents get sued and all that fun stuff. Where I see it going nationally is I see it becoming more nimble. I think on the agency side, we're through the most of the mergers and acquisitions activity. So I think you're going to see these giant behemoth sales operations, and then your mom and pops, ranging from just 1 or 2 people to, we're a 15-person agency. But I think we're now on the large side, and there's a gap until then, someone who's got 5 shops and 100 employees or more, something like that. But I think it's the real answer is who knows. I don't have this incredible vision because the pace of change has increased so much. It used to be something would be relatively uniform for a generation. Then, okay, for 10 years, 5 years. Now the world changes every year or two. That would be my answer in short. I use a lot of words, I know. I think we see a much more nimble, responsive industry if we're looking ahead, 5-10 years from now.
So it's funny because I had to take a car service from my house up to Logan to fly out this morning. And the car was autonomous. I mean, there's a driver obviously, but it was autonomous, and it doesn't work if your mask is on because it's sensing that you're still alert while driving. So he's like, I can't put it on while you're in the car because everyone's got to wear masks and close contact. And I was just like, so, in a pandemic, autonomous cars may not work.
There you go. Could you wear a face shield?
And autonomous cars.
What about a face shield?
It was just funny. He was just telling me about it. I was like, that's interesting. But he says it will sense that you're still paying attention and will like jostle you or alert you if you're not, And
what kind of car was it?
Maybe it's like a Cadillac, some kind of like, it's like a town car of some kind, like Lincoln or a Cadillac. But cool. I was interesting. Like, I was like, well, that's probably like the in-between place, right? Where it's autonomous, but like my car, if I go like hit one of the like white lines, it'll like jostle my steering wheel.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, hey, jerk face.
Pay attention.
Yeah, pay attention.
Yeah, Julie has a electric car. She's a Tesla that we don't have the full autonomous, but it'll hold a lane. It'll, do a lot of things. But every 30 to 60 seconds, it makes you push a button or slightly jerk the steering wheel. It just puts a little message up, basically like, hey, make sure you're awake.
Yep.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. And I think too, I think it's interesting. You'll have like the 1 or 2 man shops. I think those are the ones that are going to struggle the most, to be honest with you, because
yes. And here's one for you. We all know that there's a huge vacuum when it comes to succession plans in insurance. Yeah. And those small agents probably are the most affected by it. And what I've said to people, and I've actually had opportunities that I could have looked further into and chose not to, because they still have paper files. And they think that their agency is worth what it's worth on paper. And my response to that is it's worth about 60% of that, because I'm going to lose a year digitizing your agency. So if you think your agency is worth X, it's really worth about 0.6 times X, because you didn't, upgrade the kitchen before putting it on the market. And now somebody's got to do that. And it really devalues their asset.
And it's also too, like, if that's the way the client wants to be served, are you ever going to be able to service them that way that guy did? Probably not. I completely agree with you that when I hear paper files, I'm like, you better do that at scale. Like it's gross. Like, I'm like,
yep.
We're almost 15 years paperless.
We acquired an agency in 2010 that had paper files. And Julie literally had her mother pulling staples out of things so that we could scan them. We lost the better part of a year in terms of the personnel of that shop. And it was exactly what I described. It was a principal agent who played a lot of golf and one CSR who focused on retention. But it was a very healthy book that lined up with our carriers. Yeah. And it was a no-brainer. It was profitable. But we lost the better part of a year taking it paperless.
Scanning Polaroids and cutting all the facts.
And this was 2010.
And that's the thing, like, it's been around for so long, it's hard to decline. It's hard to get your head around the idea that there's still thousands of agencies in America that don't have management systems. And it's like,
I don't know how we could have handled. So we had an insolvency in 2019. It was about 500 policies for our agency The company went out of business. We've had nationwide non-renew stuff back in the day, right after we went independent, hundreds of policies. There's no way we
Well,
could
they
have handled that.
exited, Nationwide exited the Florida market for a time.
Yeah.
They siphoned off all of their DP3s to Security First at one point, and all of their HOs to Tower Hill at another point about 2-3 years after that.
So there's no way we could have handled that if we still had paper files. I mean, we would just have stacks of files everywhere with hundreds of clients to call. Impossible. And then let alone, 2020, if everything was paper files and the staff was required to be in the office. Yeah.
So funny you should mention that. And I know a lot of people struggled through that, but our operations manager, his lady friend works at another agency in town, and they had that challenge. When they've had to go remote, I think it's their new business process or something, but they don't digitize anything until it's bound. And they have multiple systems. It's kind of a convoluted process from our perspective, but for that reason, I'm not going to say what agency it is, and to each their own, nothing but respect. But they would have to send one person into the office, social distancing, to go retrieve whatever files were needed to finish up finding an account or something, finish it up, and then someone would have to take it back to the office, and they'd have to schedule all of this. And I mean,
hold on, you're giving Kelly a headache.
I know, I'm just thinking to myself, this is why we drink in insurance. I can't get my, sometimes we're our own worst enemy. Like, that's the hardest part, right? Like, we make our jobs so much harder because you don't want to slow down to speed up, or we stop learning and we stop embracing the idea that things, are changing. Like in auto insurance, we're trying to preach like telematics is kind of the way of the future. You might not like it. It's hard to explain, but they'll gain adoption, and we just have to get over it.
I bought into the big brother argument, and Kelly, you and I have waxed poetic about politics many a time. But I bought into the big brother argument for a little while. And right now I've got Nationwide Smart Ride on my phone, and it's not intrusive at all.
It's like, it's around a
good discount.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's around they say on Nationwide, I think it's an average of 21% savings over. Yep. And it's like,
and all it tracks is time of day. Do you have any fast acceleration or hard braking events? What's your idle time, and what's your miles driven? And what they're moving to, we were talking to our marketing rep, actually, I think this may have been another carrier, it may have been the Red Umbrella. They're going to start, no, it was Nationwide. They're going to start changing how they do telematics. And whether you realize it or not, think OnStar. For years, the telematics capability is already in your car. I think if you have a car built after like 2001 or something, it effectively has a black box, like commercial.
Right, like Tiger Woods got into the accident. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So Nationwide is going to change their telematics to where it's neither a plug-in device nor an app. They're going to have you sign a waiver that allows them to download the telematics data directly from your vehicle.
So, but like, we all sit here and say like, oh, I don't know if I want that, because we're all sometimes we hard brake, sometimes we accelerate, like.
I never accelerate fast in my Tesla.
There's never a perfect driver out there, right? Like, it's
just a 60 and 3.2. She never accelerates.
Well, I was gonna say, you guys live in Florida, where I think like, doesn't everybody drive their Cadillacs on Sunday at 25 miles an hour down the road? Isn't that a challenge?
No. That's over. See, this is Orlando. That's down in Palm Beach and over in Clearwater, where the median age is 101.
They got to get to shuffleboard.
Yeah, they do.
Shuffleboard. But let's be honest, it's in our phone, right? Like, my iPhone says, you're driving, don't text, and it'll say your car's parked here. It exists, like, it's just going to be the way it is, and it's going to work for some, and hopefully it makes some people safer too. Like, we have to get away from, it could make really unsafe people be more aware that they're terrible drivers, which is one of I want that to be my superpowers, be able to like hit a button and like eject bad drivers off the road.
If only.
It may even help in claim situations, because if a carrier is able to pull the data and be like, oh, you weren't going 65, you were going 45, that's the speed limit. Okay. So who knows the opportunities. And I mean, I get into my car, it syncs with my calendar, and if it's 3:00 and I have a 3:15 at this address, it pulls up the address on the GPS. Like, for anyone who's just like,
it's like anything though, right? I always use the analogy of nuclear power. You basically have a clean energy source that could also blow up the whole world. It's just how you use it. It's how you use it.
100%. Well, I think we're not probably going to solve all the world's problems today, but we're going to come close. I really think
I'm here. We'll solve them all. I got this.
I'm on it. Well, I'm going to tell the word right now that their daughter, Alex, will be a top producer. So everybody in Florida better watch out. She's a charmer, that one. You got to watch out.
She has some attitude and some very cute facial expressions. So you got to watch out.
She's kind of chill though. She can hang with the adults and just do her thing. And when she's feeling a little froggy, she'll get your attention.
It's a fact.
And she hangs out in the office and everybody loves her. She's the stress relief in the office. Just bring Alex around with her blueberries and you'll be fine.
Alex, and we actually have no problem with, as long as we know about it. So it's not like two on the same day and it turns into, bark fest or dog wars. But we're a pet friendly place too.
Oh, that's good. You can get pet snuggles, Alex, animal crackers. It's living the dream down there, man. Well, thank you guys so much. I'm glad to see, I love to see people coming in, taking over the agencies and taking those leaps. And I know it's not always easy. So thank you guys for what you do.
Well, thank you, Kelly.
Yep. And likewise, Kelly, you're a great partner in enabling us to do what we do. I mean, everybody needs a good consultant to just tell them what they already knew, but kick them in the butt to do it.
Or tell your team what you already tell them, but it sounds different from a third party.
Oh, absolutely. It's the old, if your parents told you, you went, in one ear, out the other, but if your friend's mom said it, oh, it's gospel.
Huge. It's huge. Well, I was sad that COVID didn't let me come down to Florida during the cold winter. So we'll have to figure out another golfing, day drinking event, basically.
What are you doing on Friday? I think it's supposed to be 66.
Well, you know what? I'm going to be flying home. I'm currently in the DC area. So I'm going to, just I'll hop down to hop up. It's that pesky Easter weekend thing that us Catholics have though. So we got to deal with that.
Hey.
Well, thank you guys so much. We'll catch up with you soon.
Thanks, Kelly.
Bye.
Thanks. Well, what did you think about Julie and Jason? Impressive, right? These are the types of agencies we love working with. And so we do have a few spots still open on our agency performance program, which is a 2-year program to really work through a lot of the things that they're talking about. And it takes time. It's not a light switch, unfortunately. So hopefully you'll check that out. And if you do want to reach out to them, check out Harry Levine Insurance outside of Orlando. We'll see you soon. Hi, everyone. I want to give you a quick update on our agency performance program. Many of you may have been following along and heard last year we changed some things up. So now for any new clients, we only have one way to work together if you want to work with me directly, which is a 2-year program that goes through the whole agency, top to bottom. And we focus on an assessment to get all the pieces in the right order. Then we move pretty quickly into time management so we can get your team operating uniformly and effectively. Then retention, renewal review calls, and then a sales process. And I just want to let you know, we are already up to halfway of the clients we said we would allow this year. So it's only May and we're way ahead of schedule. With a new program, we thought there might be a little lag time, but we've had the blessing of having a lot of clients jump on board. So if it's something that you're interested in, we definitely recommend you reach out to us to secure your spot. We're only doing 20 agencies, that's it. It just turns out that our time has been, very valuable. And for me, I love working with agencies that we build this deep relationship. It's not just move. For clients of ours that we worked in the past, don't worry, our programs are still available. So, if you ever wanted to do one more program we didn't get to, still contact us, of course. But if you are interested, let us know. Go to agencyperformancepartners.com. You can go to the agency performance program and get more details. Hope to see you soon. If you have any questions, love to work with you.